You're just a useless leech, you know that? While packing for my sister's wedding, my mother-in-law Emma spilled beer on me. With no earnings of your own, attending a wedding on someone else's dime, you're like a thief. She dumps all the household work on me, treating me like a housekeeper. I've endured it until now, but this treatment is just too much. Can't even manage household chores properly, yet you want to go to a wedding. How selfish of you. Smirking as he joins in, is my husband, Oliver. My name is Ava. A 32-year-old housewife. I met Oliver through friends and agreed to marry him on the condition that I quit my job to focus on household duties and live with his parents. Initially resistant to living together, I reluctantly agreed, thinking it would reduce the burden of rent if I quit my job. But soon after moving in, I realized this was a mistake. Your soup is always too thick. Drinking this constantly would lead to high blood pressure. I'm sorry. I thought I had made it thinner, but my in-laws never seem satisfied with my cooking. They always complain about my dishes, yet Emma never cooks. If we get sick, it's your fault. I'm sorry, I'll be careful. Even as I apologize, Oliver, sitting next to me, pretends not to notice. He never stands up for me. Emma regularly invites her friends over for tea parties. Hurry up with the snacks. You're always so slow. Move it. Serving snacks and making coffee are always my responsibilities. And so is washing and tidying up the mountains of dishes after they leave. When I talk to Oliver about it, it's natural for a wife to help out when mom's having fun. He's unresponsive. Mom, why don't you get the trendy pastries from the station for tomorrow's tea party? That's a good idea, but the line there is always so long. Just have Ava do it. Right, Ava? Go line up early tomorrow and buy them. With that, he leaves for work. I'm not just a housekeeper. My frustration keeps growing. It's infuriating that both Emma and Oliver treat me like a slave. On top of that, living on Oliver's salary and his parents' pension is barely manageable, yet they insist on expensive snacks and coffee for these tea parties. While they are harsh to me at home, Emma and Oliver maintain a good public image, leaving me with no one to understand my plight. People say living with in-laws is tough, but your mother-in-law seems so kind. I don't know how to respond to such comments. What I really want to say is, I'm being harassed by my mother-in-law. But I'm too scared to make a fuss and stay silent. Your husband even greets us every morning. Oliver only takes out the trash to maintain a good impression with the neighbors. I'm the one who gathers all the trash and prepares the bags at the entrance. He just carries them to the trash collection area. He even helps with taking out the trash. What a cooperative husband you have. I'm envious. Should I be grateful that at least my husband takes out the trash, unlike some men who don't do even that? He never clears the table after eating and leaves cups wherever he last used them. His habit of leaving clothes strewn about only adds to my endless chores. Despite being a housewife herself, Emma does no household work at all. Bring the coffee before being asked. You're always so slow. I'm swamped with chores from morning till night and can hardly keep up with my in-laws' coffee demands. Emma, who never lifts a finger herself, is quick to tell me what to do. And always finds something I haven't done to criticize. Can't you do something about the water stains in the bathroom? You're supposed to clean before it gets dirty. It's embarrassing how incompetent my daughter-in-law is at household tasks. Afraid of the consequences of talking back, I rarely do. Feeling obligated because I live here, I think it's my fault for not doing a good enough job at housework and constantly get berated for being an inadequate wife. I tell myself I need to do better. Even when going shopping, I have to ask for money in advance, and then return with the change and receipts. Since the receipts are always checked, I can't even buy things I like for myself. I'm sorry. Could I have some money to buy socks? I've been mending my socks, but now they're so worn out that there are holes in them. For your socks, $1 should be enough, right? When handed just $1, I felt like crying out of frustration. Back when I was single, I used to treat myself to clothes or drinks with friends. Now, I don't have any money to spend freely. My parents have passed away and I have no other relatives to turn to, so I thought I had no choice but to endure. A few days later, I received a wedding invitation from my sister, Sophia. After our parents died, we relied on each other. I desperately wanted to attend her important wedding. I begged Oliver and Emma, who were having their evening drink. Please, let me go to my sister's wedding. A wedding? That'll cost money. Do you really have to go? Emma seemed very reluctant. You don't need to go, right? It's a waste of money. Oliver was not on my side either. In this house, there's no one on my side. Fine. Go if you want. I don't want our family to be spoken ill of because of your absence. Emma reluctantly agreed. Really, you're such a useless money eater. Mom is really kind, isn't she? No matter what they said, I was glad to be allowed to go to the wedding. I immediately started packing my bag. While packing clothes, I felt someone behind me. Turning around, I saw Emma standing there. Then, she suddenly threw her beer on me. What are you doing? Emma, without hiding her displeasure, said. Going to a wedding with someone else's money, you're like a thief. She was still angry about me going to the wedding. I do housework every day and never waste money. I had wanted to attend friends' weddings, but had always declined. Is it so wrong to want to attend my only sibling's wedding? I'm sick of even looking at you. Just leave and never come back. I was lost for words at such harshness. Can't even do housework properly, and you want to go to a wedding. How selfish. Oliver smirked, joining in with his parents. Understood. I replied weakly. The drink's gone bad. Let's start over. With that, they left the room. Tears dripped onto the bag I was packing. I didn't bother to wipe them away and focused on packing. Not just clothes, but also my parents' photo and other valuables went into the bag. Attending the wedding and seeing my sister's radiant face was overwhelming. Sophia, congratulations! As I spoke these words in the dressing room, my sister's expression changed instantly. Big sis, what happened to you? You've lost so much weight. Are you okay? My sister looked concerned. Your complexion is really poor. Are you eating properly? It's her big day, and I feel terrible for causing her worry. I try to force a smile, but my face contorts, and tears start to fall instead. Just sit down for a minute. There's still time. Please, tell me what's been going on. I told my sister everything that had happened. That's just terrible. I've been told never to come back. I wonder what I should do now. Should I return to that house and continue living as a housekeeper? I didn't want to go back, but felt like I had no choice. Listen to me, sis. Listen carefully. My sister said, looking into my eyes. Don't go back to that house. Just because they're family, it doesn't give them the right to take away your freedom. But I have nowhere else to go. I have to go back to that house. My sister took my hand. It's okay. I'm here for you. I'll always stand by you and protect you. After the wedding, my sister helped me find a new apartment, and I started a new life without returning to my in-laws. A week later, Oliver contacted me. I didn't want to answer, but he kept calling, so I reluctantly picked up. "Where are you? Come back already," he shouted as soon as I answered. I was surprised for a moment, but I'm not the same person anymore. After talking a lot with my sister, I realized how abnormal my in-laws' house was. At first, I thought it was my fault for not being good at housework. "You're not the one at fault." But my sister kept encouraging me. "I was told never to come back, so I won't be returning." I could hear a click of the tongue over the phone. "Stop being insolent and come back to apologize to Mom." I was amazed at how much he took Emma's side. "I don't want to come back. I can't take it anymore. You're living in our house without earning or even doing proper housework. Just come back now." He hung up after that. But even living separately, the ties to my in-laws' house remained. To discuss a divorce, I went to my in-laws' house with my sister and her husband. The first thing I noticed was a foul smell when we entered. It smelled like rotting garbage that hadn't been taken out for days. Laundry was scattered everywhere, and the sink was overflowing with dishes. Had the house gotten this bad in just a few weeks? I was shocked at how different it was from when I lived there. We moved things around to make space to sit. Then, I spoke up. "I want a divorce." "What? Don't joke around," Oliver said, slamming his hand on the table. "It's true. You're complaining about having an incompetent wife living here, aren't you?" Both Oliver and Emma reacted angrily, unable to accept it. But I had made up my mind. I wouldn't run away anymore. "Just come back and do your housework. It's your fault the house is dirty." They blamed me for the mess they made living there. "Please calm down." My sister intervened. "Ava wants a divorce. And since she's been treated so harshly, we'll be requesting alimony in the divorce case." Oliver and his parents were taken aback by the mention of alimony. "What are you talking about? We haven't done anything wrong." They had no sense of guilt despite their mistreatment. Once again, I decided that I would definitely cut ties with these people. "No, based on what Ava has told us, we believe an alimony claim in the divorce case is justified." Oliver, still in disbelief, shouted. "What? If you want alimony that badly, hire a lawyer or whatever. You probably don't have the money for it, but go ahead. We'll do whatever it takes for the case." I wasn't scared of his threatening words. "Yes. That's exactly what we plan to do. I am Ava's representative, her lawyer." At my sister's words, Oliver and his parents were lost for words. "My husband is also a lawyer, so the two of us will fight this with all our might. Be prepared, okay?" "What did you say?" "As for the legal fees, I couldn't possibly accept money for helping dear Ava, who has always been so kind to me." My sister was methodically explaining while cornering him. "In preparation for the divorce case, we've reviewed Ava's diaries and emails. They will all be submitted as evidence. I heard about the incident with the beer being thrown at you. Is that true?" That is..." She spoke calmly as a lawyer, but it was clear my sister was quite angry. "I understand Ava was also pushed by you." "That was just me scolding her for not being able to mop properly." Emma was increasingly becoming flustered. "Does scolding leave bruises?" I was shocked to see the bruises when we met at the wedding. We immediately took her to the hospital for treatment, and of course, we have a medical report. Emma seemed at a loss for words. "This evidence will also be submitted." My sister and her husband listened to my story attentively, gathering all the evidence. I can't thank them enough. "How can you say that? Don't you feel any gratitude for living here for free?" Emma started yelling in anger. "Exactly. Do you know how much extra it costs just to have you here? Don't mess with me. Oliver's harsh words made me realize how wrong this marriage was. Shall we continue? We're recording this entire conversation, you know. At my sister's words, Oliver and my in-laws were speechless. They didn't expect to be recorded. After that, they became quiet, unable to complain knowing they were being recorded. Please be aware that any future calls or emails will also be used as evidence. If there is any stalking-like behavior, we will report it. My sister is an excellent lawyer. Without her, I couldn't have separated or divorced. You'll agree to the divorce, right? Mediation and legal fees can be quite expensive. Oliver and the in-laws were whispering, but eventually seemed to agree. Fine. I'll give you a divorce. I had them sign the divorce papers before they could change their minds. While talking with my sister after separating, I suddenly wondered, why hadn't Oliver ever been on my side? When I asked her about it, she thought for a moment and then asked, "You know how men can have such fragile egos? Can you think of anything?" I couldn't think of anything in particular. Had I inadvertently hurt Oliver's pride without realizing it? As I pondered this, my sister suggested, "Try remembering things from before you got married." That made me recall something from before the proposal. Now that you mention it, I remember getting scolded for bragging when I talked about college. It was during a date, when we saw posters for various university open campuses aimed at high school students. One of them was for my alma mater, which I mentioned, causing him to become noticeably upset. Maybe it's an inferiority complex about education? He gets upset if someone seems superior. Were there other instances? He seemed like someone with high pride. I hadn't thought much of it, but now that I did, several things came to mind. Actually, I earned a higher salary than him, but after we got married, he insisted I quit my job and become a housewife. Even when I said it's common for both spouses to work these days, he absolutely refused. Yeah, it's definitely better for both spouses to work. I had doubts, but eventually, I got tired of arguing and quit my job. It was a job I loved and wanted to continue. He probably wanted to trap his wife, who had a higher education and income, at home. Watching you get harassed by your MIL probably satisfied his ego. If that was the reason I was hurt, it's truly sad. I could feel all the love I had left for Oliver disappearing without a trace. You're ungrateful after we kindly let a poor person like you live here without earning anything. Emma's sarcasm didn't stop. Right. Without this house, you'd probably be homeless since you have no money. No need to worry, I have an inheritance left by my parents. Oliver and the in-laws opened their eyes wide in surprise. What? You hid that? I never hid it. I couldn't even say I was using the inheritance to buy groceries, fearing they'd accuse me of stealing money. So, include that money in the division of property then. Pay the security deposit for the divorce case, and we'll take the rest. No, that's not how it works. Property and inheritance before marriage don't enter into the division of property. Huh? Oliver seemed to think he would get half of my inheritance after the divorce. That's why only the property acquired after marriage is subject to division. Even as a housewife, I get half, so don't be mistaken. So I have to pay for the division of property and the security deposit for the divorce? That's what I'm saying. At this, Oliver suddenly became panicked. Hey, why don't we just keep living here? You won't have to pay rent or anything. He started to hesitate about the divorce once he realized he'd have to pay. But I already had the divorce papers. Absolutely not. You never once took my side, just treating me like a housekeeper. I never want to see your face again. At my firm stance, Oliver had nothing more to say. The divorce went through smoothly, and Oliver had to pay the security deposit for the divorce case. Realizing he couldn't win against a skilled lawyer with all the evidence, he must have given up. After the divorce, Oliver apparently badmouthed me at his company. I was just deceived. Glad to be rid of such a wicked wife. He tried to justify himself. I didn't want to pay the security deposit for the divorce case, but I had to. Eh? That means you did something bad enough to pay for a security deposit, right? That is... He faltered when a colleague pointed it out. I just kept her in line as my wife was getting too cocky. Or, I scared her with Mom because she was annoying. That's what he seems to have said. His colleagues, hearing this, "Is Oliver's wife okay?" were worried. Once it was known why he had to pay the security deposit, his position at the company deteriorated. Oliver resigned from the company. With his pride, he probably couldn't stand the cold treatment from his colleagues. The in-laws, now without income, seemed to be living poorly. Oliver's salary wasn't high, and the money for groceries was always limited. I used to find cheap supermarkets and save with points to manage somehow. Without anyone to do housework, their house must be in a mess. Then, Oliver contacted me. I can't make ends meet and have to sell the family home. It's not my responsibility. Can you help us out? After everything, he still doesn't understand why I wouldn't help. Eventually, the family home was put up for sale. Now, Oliver and his parents live in a cheap apartment, blaming each other for their situation. To me, it's just desserts, but they can't seem to accept responsibility. As for me, I'm returning to the job I loved before marriage. My sister and her husband didn't want payment, but I insisted, to mark the end of it all. A fancy dinner as thanks didn't seem enough to express my gratitude. Delicious, my sister said, happily eating, making me happy too. That's why I said so. I'll always protect my sister. My sister was always there for me, on my side. Since I'm family, I want to be able to help you whenever you're in trouble. I'm done with marriage. What are you saying? I'm sure there's someone out there who will be on your side. Can someone like me, who had given up on marriage and children, find happiness again? Before, I had no freedom and couldn't hope for the future. But now, I want to walk my own path and reclaim my life. Got any plans for what you want to do? Thinking about it, I said. First, I'll go buy some fancy socks. What's that about? Laughing, we enjoyed the moment together. You're just a wife, and I'm the precious daughter of this house. Wives are like housekeepers, right? You should just keep quiet and do as I say. Got it? Now get to work for me. I calmly responded to my fuming Sael. I don't live in this house, you know. Huh? I'm Natalie, 25 years old. I had just married my husband, Christopher, who's the same age, 6 months ago. We lived together at my in-laws' house. My in-laws are reasonable and calm people. We've had a good relationship since we started dating. It was meant to be a temporary arrangement until our new home under construction was finished, but my in-laws warmly welcomed us. Once we got married, there was no sudden change in their attitude towards me. We lived together, respecting each other. Surrounded by my loving husband and kind in-laws, my married life seemed smooth sailing, but there was one thing that concerned me. That was my Sael, Mia. Mia, my husband's younger sister by a year, has disliked me from the first meeting. She'd say things like, "You look so unfashionable. Where did you buy those weird clothes? You have no sense of style," as she would spitefully speak and despise me. She's currently living with her boyfriend, but it seems things aren't going too well, and she frequently returns home. Whenever Mia comes back, she treats me, herself, almost like a housekeeper, bossing me around with various chores. My husband and in-laws would always scold her, but she never seemed to change her ways. One day, while I was doing chores with my Aria, MIL, and taking a break with some coffee, we heard a noise from the entrance. "I'm home." It seemed like Mia had returned. As I stood up with a bit of a heavy heart to make coffee. "Natalie, I want something sweet," she said. I took out some cookies from the kitchen cupboard and served them with coffee to Mia, but she complained. "Ugh, not this. Don't you have anything else? You really have no taste." I was in the mood for jasmine tea, but I guess I'll have to make do with this. "I'm sorry." Inside, I was irritated, but I thought it pointless to argue, so I held it in. Watching the scene, Arya began to scold Mia. "Mia, what on earth are you saying to Natalie? How is she supposed to know what you're feeling? Natalie is Christopher's wife, not your servant. And you've been coming back here almost every day, but have you properly talked things out with Stephen? Ugh, stop nagging. It's none of your business, is it, Mom?" Mia, like a petulant child, covered her ears, clearly not wanting to hear another word. Stephen is Mia's boyfriend, a genuinely nice and refreshing guy. In the early days of their relationship, they were so affectionate it was almost embarrassing to watch, and it seemed like they might even get married. However, after a few months of living together, they started having serious issues. Mia didn't do any housework and was reckless with money. On top of that, her infidelity came to light, leading Stephen to finally suggest breaking up. The apartment they lived in was rented under Stephen's name, and he apparently wanted her out as soon as possible. Despite this, Mia stubbornly refused to leave and had been dodging any discussions about it. I was utterly astounded by Mia's behavior, but chose to stay silent and let it pass. Even if I offered advice, I doubted she would listen. Arya, addressing Mia, said, "Think about Stephen's feelings, not just your own. If you've done something wrong, you should apologize first." She spoke as if gently admonishing a small child, but Mia was just defiant and didn't seem to take it to heart. By the time Mia left, Arya was completely exhausted. "Arya, I'll take care of things from here. Please, rest a bit." When I said this, Arya gave a weary smile. "Thank you, Natalie. I think I will rest for a bit." Arya seemed quite worn out because of Mia. I wanted to be of some help to Arya. The next day was a holiday, so we had a late breakfast and were relaxing. While enjoying some light conversation, the doorbell rang. "Who could that be? I'll go check." I stood up to check the monitor and saw Stephen standing there. "Stephen's here." When I informed everyone, my Fael, John, looked a bit stern. "Stephen, huh? It's been a while. Let him in." I went to the door and invited Stephen into the living room. When Stephen and I entered the living room, my in-laws bowed deeply, clearly feeling very sorry, and apologized to him. "Stephen, it's been a while. We are truly sorry for what our foolish daughter has put you through. It must be our fault for how we raised her. She's an adult but can't differentiate between right and wrong." Seeing my in-laws bow their heads over Mia's behavior made my heart ache. My husband seemed to feel the same, his face crinkled with concern. Then Stephen, looking troubled, spoke up. "Hello everyone, it's been a while. Please, raise your heads. It's not the parents' fault. I came today because I have something I need to discuss with you. We'll do anything we can. Please, don't hesitate to ask," Arya said eagerly. Stephen continued. "Thank you. I'm sorry to have to say this, but I need your help convincing Mia to leave the apartment as soon as possible. I trusted her and allowed us to live together, and I'm deeply sorry it's come to this." With that, Stephen deeply apologized to my in-laws. He looked worn out, perhaps from lack of sleep, and his face was pale. Seeing him like this, John nodded firmly and said, "You don't even have to ask. We'll make sure Mia understands she's been a nuisance." Arya added, "Yes. Stephen, we're so sorry." After hearing my in-laws' response, Stephen seemed a bit relieved and gave a weak smile. After Stephen left, my in-laws discussed what to do about Mia. They decided to call Mia and try to persuade her, so my husband and I told them we'd be upstairs in our room if they needed us. 30 minutes later, Mia arrived, and from the living room downstairs, we could hear voices growing louder, occasionally interrupted by the sound of something breaking, Arya's scream, and Mia's furious shouting. My husband and I exchanged looks, trying to decide when to go downstairs to help, when we heard Arya's voice calling us. "Christopher, Natalie, could you come down here, please?" "Yes, we're coming," I replied and immediately rushed downstairs with my husband. In the living room, we found an enraged Mia, a stern-faced John, and a worn-out Arya. The TV remote and Mia's bag were scattered on the floor, and the glass doors of the sideboard were shattered. I was stunned by the mess, but my husband calmly asked Arya, "Mom, are you okay?" Arya, looking tired, answered with a smile, "Yes, I'm sorry to worry you." Then, John, exchanging a glance with Arya, declared, "Christopher and Natalie, we want you to hear this. Until Mia reflects on her actions and genuinely changes, she is not welcome in our house. So, if she tries to enter while we're away, don't hesitate to turn her away." "Understood, Dad." My husband nodded quietly. Then Arya continued, "We've decided not to indulge Mia any further. She has such a wonderful boyfriend, yet she chooses to live selfishly and even cheat. It's unbelievable. You will have to work and pay back the money you've spent frivolously, Natalie. Please help us with this." "Yes, understood," I replied, and Mia glared at me. Then, with a huff of displeasure, she said, "I'm done with this place. I won't come back ever again. You'll regret ignoring your own daughter, but don't come crying to me later." With those parting words, she stormed out of the living room. I noticed Mia had left her bag on the floor, so I hurried after her to hand it over. She snatched it roughly. "Mom and Dad said what they said, but if you dare stop me from entering this house just because you're the wife, you'll regret it," she threatened me in a menacing tone. I hesitated for a moment and stepped back, prompting Arya, who looked concerned, to approach. "Hey, you didn't say anything rude to Natalie, did you?" Mia replied nonchalantly, "I didn't say anything." Then she slammed the door and left. Back in the living room, my husband and John were discussing Mia. "So, did you manage to convince her? What's she going to do now?" My husband asked, and John, looking weary, replied, "For now, she's agreed to leave Stephen's apartment. I guess she'll rent her own place and start paying back the money she's spent." 3 months later, our lives, once heavily affected by Mia, started to regain some peace. Stephen called to thank us, saying Mia had moved out after their discussions. However, we hadn't heard from Mia at all, and we had no idea where she was or what she was doing. While I did feel a bit worried about her, I was mainly relieved. Then, one day, without any warning, she returned. John and my husband were at work, and Arya had gone out shopping with a friend when the doorbell rang. I checked the monitor and saw Mia standing there. Before I could respond, she unlocked the door and entered the house. "The place looks quite different since I've been away. Did you get rid of most of the furniture or something? Oh, you're here? How dare you ignore me ringing the doorbell? Are Dad and my brother at work? Where's Mom? Mia entered, talking loudly to herself. She was carrying lots of luggage, including a large suitcase and a duffel bag. With a sinking feeling, I answered. Arya went shopping with a friend. Mia casually opened her duffel bag, dumped a pile of laundry at my feet, and said, Please wash these by tomorrow. I'll run out of clothes to wear if you don't do it quickly. What? Stunned, I stared at her, and Mia, looking angry, went on a tirade. What do you mean, what? How dare you talk back like that? You're just a wife. I'm the daughter of this house. Mia, I tried to interject, but she continued her rant like a machine gun. Oh, and I'm thirsty. Since nothing good comes out when I leave things to you, I'll specify what I want today. I'm in the mood for a café au lait, and I'd love a scone with lots of chocolate chips. If we don't have them at home, go buy some. I'll wait for about 5 minutes. As she acted as if the recent confrontation hadn't happened, I felt the need to clarify. Did you inform the in-laws that you'd be coming back today, Mia? She answered nonchalantly, as if it were the most natural thing. No, I didn't. If I had told them in advance, they might have changed the locks. But I'm sure once we talk, Dad, Mom, and even my brother will welcome me back. After all, I'm the beloved daughter of this house. Flabbergasted by her overly optimistic view, I firmly stated. Then please leave. I cannot go against their wishes when they haven't forgiven you. Mia, visibly irritated, snapped back. What? Why should I listen to you? You're just a wife, and I'm the precious daughter of this house. Wives are like housekeepers, right? You should just quietly do as I say. Now get to work for me. I calmly faced the furious Mia and said, I don't live in this house, you know. What? My response seemed utterly unexpected to Mia, and she made a strange noise. While Mia stood there, dumbfounded. Hello, everyone. Arya's cheerful voice came from the entrance. I just ran into Christopher and the others. Following Arya, John and my husband also came home, and the house suddenly became lively. The in-laws and my husband were visibly shocked to see Mia. After a few seconds of silence, John spoke up forcefully. Mia, why are you here? We said you're not welcome until you deeply reflect on and regret your actions. Mia was taken aback by John's sternness, but soon returned to her usual demeanor. I've reflected on my actions. That's why I came back. Please forgive me. I'm the daughter of this house, after all. Her voice was pleading, but John's expression remained grim. Arya and my husband seemed to share John's sentiment, as neither of them came to Mia's defense. Realizing she was at a disadvantage, Mia turned her attention to me and said with a malicious smirk, By the way, Natalie just said she doesn't live here. What did this woman do? Getting kicked out of her home must mean she did something terrible. Confused by Mia's words, my husband replied, Huh? We haven't done anything. Mia, perplexed, continued. What? You mean my brother was kicked out too? I don't understand. What's going on? I answered calmly. We weren't kicked out. Christopher got a job transfer, and since our new home is ready, we decided to move. My husband added. That was the plan all along, but the official orders only recently came through. The new place is in the countryside, but it's a nice town. Clean air, delicious food. And it's not just us moving, Dad and Mom are relocating too. Their faces bright with excitement, the in-laws chimed in. That's right. We're going to live a leisurely life in Hawaii from now on. We've been preparing for this move for years. Fortunately, we found a buyer for this house quickly. Then Mia became terribly agitated and started to make a fuss. Wait a minute. You're selling the house? That's why there's hardly any furniture left. I didn't know anything about this. I came back planning to live here. What am I supposed to do now? Stop being so selfish. You're an adult. Take responsibility for your own actions. Arya scolded her, and Mia burst into tears. While occasionally glancing at us, John, looking exasperated, said, We heard it from Stephen. Your affair was with a married man, right? Besides paying Stephen back, you're in trouble because the man's wife is demanding compensation. But that's all your own responsibility. When Mia realized there was no chance John would forgive her, she furiously lifted some of the remaining furniture and tried to throw it at my husband and me. I hate all of you. Damn it. As Mia was about to lash out like the other day, John and my husband managed to restrain her, and Arya didn't hesitate to call the police. Mia cried and threw a tantrum like a small child until the police arrived. Afterwards, having nowhere to live, Mia was seen sleeping in parks and internet cafes, doing day labor to barely get by. She used to look like a neat, modern young woman, but now she's completely changed and looks much older. My husband and I moved smoothly and are living peacefully in our new home. The in-laws, who moved to Hawaii, seem to be living leisurely and comfortably, just the two of them. We frequently have video calls with the in-laws, maintaining a good relationship just like when we lived together. Today, being a holiday, the whole family was on a video call with the in-laws. On the computer screen, the in-laws appeared tanned and were smiling warmly. They were playing with our child on the screen. Our baby, still an infant, watched them with a vague expression. Suddenly, our child smiled brightly, and the in-laws cheered with joy. These simple moments of everyday life felt incredibly precious to me.